I'm bored, so let's talk about how channels like ClownfishTV and Shadiversity are complaining that their channels are falling apart. They're dying out because of changes over at YouTube. It's funny to me that more and more of these grifty, scammy channels are openly admitting that they're not seeing the money and the views and the pipeline that they used to see on YouTube years ago. A lot of them are just coming out and talking about it. Matter of fact, there's a 1-hour video from Shadiversity or Shadiversity. I always joke Shadiversity. There's like a 1-hour video of him complaining again about how his channel is suffering because of these changes. Now, I will say before we read through Neon's tweet here, and I'm going to break it down. I've got my notes over here. We're going to read through the tweet and talk about this. Yes, YouTube's implementing more and more AI into their system. And I said this all the way back in 2023, that AI is going to be smarter than the grifters. It's going to be smarter than these channels, because what's going to happen is YouTube, unlike Twitter, who kind of lets their AI do all kinds of wrong shit, YouTube's AI probably isn't, because they want to maximize how it functions within their algorithm. So what's going to happen is channels like these that are putting out slop content, 3, 4, 5 videos a day, just lying about stuff, being misleading about stuff, the AI is going to determine that that is not content that they want to promote, and these channels are just going to see more and more diminishing returns on this. Now, will this affect other ecosystems on YouTube? Yes, absolutely. We'll talk more about that in a moment, but let's go through Neon's tweet here so you don't have to watch his video that's going to be full of hyperbole, okay? Because this tweet says some true stuff, but it's also a lot of stuff that isn't true. So let's read the beginning of this here. It says, by the way, Neon is part of ClownfishTV, in case you guys are wondering. YouTube, as we've known it, is officially over, in all caps. You know it's serious when they use all caps. The company is being restructured into 3 new divisions, and employees were offered voluntary layoffs and buyouts today. So in my notes over here, yes, obviously the claim YouTube as we know is officially over is hyperbole. YouTube remains the second most visited website globally. That's on the entire internet. The second most visited websites, visited with 2.5 billion monthly users. That's crazy. Let's talk about the restructuring. So there are going to be 3 divisions, which is viewer products, creator and community products, and subscription products. This is a real thing. That is true. The CEO announced on October 29th that this was going to happen via an internal memo reported by Business Insider. As far as like the layoffs and stuff, employee buyouts are voluntary. They are literally not layoffs. They are buyouts, with severance offered to eligible staff members. As confirmed in the same memo, there's been no forced terminations at all. So the term layoff is a word that he is using to make this more sensational than it is. Let's go on here. It says, the media is blaming AI, which is likely part of it, but it seems to point to YouTube changing its focus away from the you and more to the them in the Hollywood studio system. In fact, one division sounds like it's going to try and compete directly with Netflix. All right. So the assertion that AI is the sole reason for restructuring lacks evidence. So yeah, I would say that's probably not true. AI for them is like a growth opportunity. So it's not a crisis driver. It's just a strategic shift in a market where AI is being used all over the place for different things. I don't like it. You guys know how I feel about it. I've talked about it extensively on live streams. I think AI is totally unregulated in ways that are bad for the ecosystem. The idea that YouTube is shifting focus to Hollywood studio system is speculative. Seriously, the subscription products division is just looking to enhance premium content. There's been no official statement from YouTube about a Netflix rivalry. Matter of fact, if you look back a few years ago, they tried to compete with Netflix and it was a failure. Some of those shows got sold to Netflix. Cobra Kai is a really big example of one that ended up going somewhere else because YouTube could not compete with them. I don't think YouTube is a place that people go for that kind of content. I think YouTube knows that. So it'd be very detrimental for them to do that. Now, as far as the AI stuff, could they be pushing more towards like monetization of AI? Quite possibly. But again, there's been no information of that from this memo. So that's, again, sort of just speculation. Does this explain all the weirdness going on with the YouTube over the past few months? And I put over here that the weirdness on YouTube is unproven. I know people have talked about this, the changes to the algorithm, the changes to policy. But even that wasn't explicitly tied to any of this restructuring. It's possibly 2 different things that just sort of, you know, you put on your tinfoil hat and you're like, oh, this is working together. I will say, though, if AI is being used in the algorithm to sort of push these kinds of channels down, as much as I dislike AI in that regard, if they could somehow make that system work where it wasn't hitting channels incorrectly, which with AI, you never know. You never know it could. Then I feel like that's a bonus to all of this, is that we're going to see less and less of this slop pushed to the top of the search results. So there you go. They go on to say here, probably it feels like there was definitely a plan and they waited to pull the trigger until they were ready. RIP YouTube, it's been real. And then they link their stream here. So there's been no comprehensive data showing that people are leaving YouTube in droves. If you want to use Social Blade, which I don't use it as like a tool to prove anything definitively, but there was a 3% drop in active channels since 2024. But that's not some sort of mass exodus of anybody from YouTube. There was a high-profile retirement with MatPat in 2024, citing personal decisions with no public evidence linking them to internal YouTube warnings. This is speculation. This is the stuff they do, you guys. They take something and they're like, oh, this must be connected because these two things happened within a year of each other. So there has to be some sort of thing going on there. It's like God of the gaps argument. It's really stupid. And these guys run their channels on that. Matter of fact, this will probably end up suppressing, or the algorithm would end up suppressing this video in particular because it is full of like so much speculation. And the RIP YouTube sentiment is exaggerated. YouTube's revenue in 2024 was 40 billion. 40 billion. So you're saying like RIP YouTube, it's been real, like that's going to be the end of YouTube. I just don't see any real substantial evidence of that. I just don't see it. It's really interesting to me because these channels have been seeing diminishing returns. I see you guys in the comments trying to say, oh, your channel only has 7,000 subscribers. Well, I don't need to have 1 million subscribers to go through and do basic math. The math is there. And the fact that so many people probably did the math themselves and found out that I was telling the truth, and they're like, oh, so I'm just going to insult you because I don't know better. These channels are losing ad revenue. Shadiversity in his video talks about the fact that they're losing ad revenue. They are trying to rely on outlets like crowdfunding or Patreon or YouTube memberships or other things they can do, super chats, super stickers. They're relying heavily on that because the ad revenue is not there. And this is a twofold situation. The reason the ad revenue is not there is not just because YouTube's system is not favoring chud content. That's not the only reason. Get ready for this fuck around and find out situation with them. So part of the reason why they're seeing less money in ad revenue compared to previous years is because there is less content coming out, because these guys have done their best over the last decade to try and get Hollywood to blow up, knowing that Hollywood was literally paying their bills. The ad revenue they were making at the big points in the year, which around this time of year, ad revenue tends to jump up quite a bit as we go into the end of the year, that is paid for by studios running ads on these guys' videos. That's where that was coming from. Once that well dries up, that's it. So they're getting hit with 3 different things here. So let's put this in perspective. The lower ad revenue as a result of YouTube's system no longer promoting their channels the way they were before, because they're no longer relevant to YouTube in that way. The lower ad revenue in general, because there's not as many ads being paid for by these large studios because they're not putting out as much content. So there we go. There's those 2. And the third one is relying solely on any sort of like funding from viewers to sustain these large channels when they all sort of have the same viewers. That's the other thing. They've relied on each other so much to build up their fans that they have crossover fans. And what's going to happen is those fans are going to have to start picking and choosing which channels they're supporting because of the current economy. So they're going to go, who do I want to support? Do I want to support ClownfishTV? Do I want to support Nerdrotic? Do I want to support Critical Drinker? Who can I afford to support in this economy? And so we're going to see less money there. It is only a matter of time, and we're going to keep seeing things like this. It's only going to be a matter of time before these guys pack up and move on to something else, because it's no longer advantageous for them. It's no longer financially sound for them to stay on YouTube and rely on ad revenue. So these types of channels will go away. When you have people openly talking about this, like ClownfishTV, when you have people openly talking about this, like Shadiversity, I've talked about other channels that have openly spoken about this. Melanie Mack is another one who kind of bailed on all this. Geeks and Gamers not uploading videos anymore because there's no ad revenue there. These are all signs that we are coming to the end of the line. Geeks and Gamers merging with other brands to try and stay afloat. Eric July coming back to YouTube and trying to do 5,000 live streams because his viewers aren't spending money on things anymore. This is all a sign of the end of times for these channels. We're coming up. It's happening faster than I expected. This tweet, this video, Shadiversity's video, these videos all point to what I have been saying. So you can come in the comments and go, you only have 7K subs. You don't know what you're talking about. I absolutely do. And every time one of your faves posts something like this, they are just reinforcing what I've already said about these channels. The ad revenue is drying up for multiple reasons. These channels, these mid-sized channels that have so badly wanted to be Nerdrotic, so badly wanted to be Critical Drinkers, so badly wanted to be Star Wars Theories. They wanted to be these channels. That's it. There's no more growth for these channels. There's none. These channels will never hit 1 million subscribers. The ones that aren't already there now will never hit 1 million subscribers. It's not going to happen. It's just not, there's not enough people engaging in this to do that anymore.